Not sure how to price your care plans without feeling greedy or even going broke? In this video, you'll learn how to price and structure your care plans so you stay profitable, serve with integrity, and build predictable revenue, even if you're just starting out. And make sure to watch to the end because I'll share exact pricing strategy that helps us scale past $100,000 per month while still keeping patients happy and engaged. I'm Dr. Zac Watkins, and after building a multi-provider practice and mentoring dozens of health professionals, I've learned how to create care plans that balance value, trust, and long-term sustainability.
When it comes to pricing, I have covered some of these things in a few places, so forgive me if this is a little bit of repeat, but pricing is always a difficult thing because you'll get people on the spectrum of, well, I don't want to overprice things to be greedy. There was a provider I worked with, she was an ER doctor, and she wanted to move into functional medicine, which was great. So she started a beautiful practice, great aesthetics, everything wonderful. But she felt bad charging for her services, which was odd to me. Like, she felt bad charging at all because she was used to insurance. So the lab she charged cost to patients, or she would let them use their insurance, some other clinic. And then for her time, she was charging like $25 an hour as an ER physician. She struggled. She was stressed. I wanted her to work with me so I could kind of mentor her and move her on into our business and kind of model and teach her. But in the end, just didn't feel good about charging money. And within probably 8 months, she was out of business, and she went back to the ER. Decided it was just too hard, and there's just no place for cash-based medicine and cash-based practice. And I think that's a huge mistake. People will buy what they value, and health is not a luxury. Health is something you got to work for and you earn. And just like having a business coach or relationship coach, spiritual coach, whatever it is, there's like health coaching, someone to give me health direction. This is why I always said, the doctor of the future is always going to be probably the health coaches, second to us as our own doctors, taking that ownership, right? So when people say it's just too expensive and no one wants to pay for it, I'm like, I don't buy it. People are paying $2,000 for phones, and that's ridiculous to me. But so they will pay, and you have to give the value though, and you can't just be stealing people's money though, because people do that as well. So when it came to pricing, it's going to be different for everybody. I can tell you what I've done, and if you want to chat more about this, I'm happy to have a conversation about this, unique to you. But we had a very high overhead. We had 22 staff at one time, pretty expensive rent. Our overhead per month was probably close to $100,000. And that's a lot. I didn't say that you raise prices to match that, but you have to work in your overhead. The nurses we had on staff, I built a spreadsheet in our office that calculated everything from the cost of one piece of little gauze, by the way, it's a penny, to Band-Aids, to needles, to IV sets, to tubing, everything. And we tracked everything meticulously. And when I reverse engineered my pricing, my cost for all of these things to run a business, I calculated what it cost to open up my office per day, the rent, all that stuff. I want to know what my daily nut was to operate. And I think if I remember correctly, just for me to open the doors and be open for business cost me about $3,750 per day. That includes the weekends. Or no, that includes the weekends. Sorry, it's just 5 days a week. I say that because when you're pricing your tests, when you're pricing your services, you want to make sure that you have built in enough room that's, yes, paying you, but also paying your expenses. There was probably 8 months of our business life when I had to dive in with my financials, where I found out that we were losing money. I wasn't charging enough. I was just losing money. And I had a medical doctor working with us, nurse practitioner, and paying them and paying my team, but we were strained. I couldn't figure out why. Well, when you dive in deep, you find out I wasn't charging. I was losing money. So the way I looked at things was I took our costs in tests, and I built a spreadsheet that valued my time for consultations for each test. If it was a CBC, I'm charged like maybe, $15 for that. But if it was like a larger lab panel, I mean, that'd take me about $350 of my time. I worked out my hourly rate. So I built that into the test and probably added a little bit more, like 15% for shipping and overhead and stuff like that, just to make sure that was priced accordingly. Now, this may not be, if you're virtual by yourself and maybe you have a virtual assistant, the benefit is you can price accordingly. But then again, I wouldn't price everything based off of if you have a small team or a big team. I'd base on just you're giving great value and people are getting help from an expert like yourself. Charge for it. It's easy to go up in price and it is to come down. Trust me. You can't start really high and be like, oops, I priced too high. I got to come back down. That looks bad. It's better to go up. So again, I'll tell you how we did it. We started off my initial consult, included all the exams and stuff. We talked about that, plus the lab, and we built that value in. And I'll tell you right now, my initial consult was anywhere between the lowest was well, there's lots of variations, but probably $159 all the way up to $859. And I'll tell you right now, we saw no difference in new patient volume. You would think lower pricing would drive more traffic, and it didn't really. If anything, you got people who were not the right fit for us. So the higher pricing kind of weeds people out, and the people who were serious were willing to do it. I don't recommend that high, but a good sweet spot for us was around $349. I think profit for that initial visit was not very much. We called it a loss leader. A loss leader is something that you use initially, mainly to gain your patients or your clients' trust. So starting off, you don't want to go too cheap, but you want to give some value. You want to price it accordingly, but you don't want to be outrageous. And because here's the thing, there's some places out there that teach this.
Hey, real quick, if you're listening to this and thinking, I need some help building out something like this in my own practice, well, just scroll down and click the first link in the description. You can book a free strategy call with myself or my team, and we're going to take a look at what you are doing now, where you're stuck, and show you exactly how to build a customized care plan that works for both your patients and your business. All right, back to the video.
We'll start with their initial, say, consultation or visit is just a conversation, and it's like $97. And you get in there, and then the doctor is told through these groups to say, okay, now you're going to sell this person a care plan for $8,000 to $10,000. There's a lot of pushback from that, not only from providers who are trying to see patients, but patients themselves. It feels like a bait and switch. It really does. So I never believed in that. I believed in giving good value up front, and I always told myself and told our team and told our patients, if the worst case scenario is you leave here with all these labs, you gained more knowledge about yourself, and that's a win because it's going to help you take action, whether you do it here with me or not. The initial lab, it was only probably $50 profit, if that. Loss leader means it's kind of negligible. We're using it as kind of a way to meet new people and to get them and show them the value we can provide. From that, I had I was very meticulous, but I had a spreadsheet of all of the testing we do in our office and all the costs. And like I said before, what I would do is I would build out what people needed based off what I felt was necessary. And it would, by the magic of Excel spreadsheets, would calculate the price. So I knew I was covered, and so our team was covered. And also we got everything that we needed for the testing and the supplies. So what would happen then, we would custom build this spreadsheet. I learned a lot about spreadsheets during this time, which I never knew anything about until I was out of college. So the patient can sit there and visually see right in front of them what the investment's going to be. And from there, my office manager would walk them through and work with them about payment plans and what's the best way to attack that. So that's how we did that. Again, it was in the package model. And if people said no, or they want to do a la carte, the only a la carte option we offered was like the initial detox program. And it gave people some progress. And the reason I like that is because everybody needs a detox. Everybody needs kind of a Control-Alt-Delete once in a while. And they would do it. And gosh, 15 pounds they would lose in 2 weeks. They'd feel great. And then they would come back and be like, okay, now I'm bought in. What else do you got? So again, for us, worst case scenario, we help somebody make some progress and learn a little bit more about themselves. Best case scenario is they come back and they trust us even more. So you can see these little small things that we did trying to help deliver value to our patients. So I mentioned here about creating predictable revenue and commitment. Commitment is a big thing. So you do the care plans, and when you're pricing everything in a way that's fair, that's kind of bundled, patients can chew that off. They don't have to keep coming in like the dentist or whatever and like whipping out their card. It's painful, right? Credit card, pulling out the card is painful. I don't care who you are. So building the plans together, it gives you that front. It gives you money up front as a business. A lot of times people would finance it or do payment plans. And if they do that, you get to a point in your business when you have enough patients coming through like a clip where you can see, okay, probably 20% of people are paying in full and 80% of people are putting things on maybe payment plans. And from that, you can basically predict and say, okay, if I'm gauging and wanting, our goal is 40 patients a month, 40 new ones. Let's say our goal is, 10 new patients a month. We know that 2 of them are most likely going to pay up front. We know that 80% of, or 8 of them are going to probably pay in payment plans. And you could split them up as 3-way or whatever it is. So then you could build a spreadsheet. I did this, but you can forecast your budget. So that way you can look ahead 8 weeks, 9 weeks, and get kind of an idea based off the business you've been doing and trends, obviously the slow times and busy times, which helps you more from a predictable revenue perspective. And that there, I think, would save you tons of time. I've been in bad situations where I just kind of wake up and what do we got today and how much money are we going to make? Some days I'm shocked that I got through that because it's always good to look at about 8 weeks. Maybe 13 weeks is actually more standard practice in business. I know it's harder in the health industry. And you may be a small operation, but you can still do this. Once you start getting some time under your belt, some patience and some revenue, you got to get some data. And it takes about 6 months maybe to get some good data, maybe 12 months about where you've been, where you need to go next. What are your trends? What goes up, what goes down, at what times of the month, what pricing is the best price point. And then the next year, you can always adjust, and then you can shoot for goals, Q1 through 4 goals. You can really dial in a lot of stuff with your practice and your business once you know those numbers. And all of this came back to packaging care plans. Think of the care plans as like a product. It's not like all this stuff into a box. The box is the product. You're getting all that stuff in one. To do that like transactional care is a lot harder to predict, really hard, because now you're putting all the onus on them to do they show up or not? Are they going to be committed or not? How often do they come in? So is it doable? Yeah, I'm not bad-mouthing that or saying it's a wrong thing. I just know that you will be capped and it's hard to grow and it will stress you out more just because I've been there, but I also talked to a lot of people who are in that same boat. So I hope that helps some when it comes from structuring and talking about pricing. Everybody's going to be different. Again, I'm happy to talk about this one-on-one. If you have questions on, or we can bring up in one of the weekly calls and talk more about it. I can dive into this a little bit more because it's going to change for everybody. Honestly, our pricing fluctuated all the time based off business trends and growth and COVID. And so it changes, and that's okay. It's a business. That's what it does. But you just want to make sure you're covering yourself and your team if you have one, or else you can be in a hole. That's what's hard about driving revenue and having a business. You could be in a hole, you don't even know it because you still have money coming in. But if you don't step back and look at your numbers, you're never going to know until it gets to be too late. So post more comments in the section if you want. We can dive into this. If this is helpful and you want to learn more, go ahead and post more. Go ahead and message me in the chat. Happy to dive into this, and we'll keep trucking on. Hey, before you go, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. If you like this one, you're definitely going to like the next video. So click here on the screen, keep going, and I'll see you over there.